Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for jumping into another video. Well, it's been an interesting day today. Today's Monday, May 5th, and we had quite a market day. If you happen to jump in early this morning and take a look at the S&P 500, like I told you that I do every single night and every single morning, you would have noticed that there was a huge gap drop this morning. The S&P 500 actually dropped from $566.67 pre-market all the way down to $563.26. That's about a $3 difference from where we closed the market on Friday. And then it opened up and it continued to drop. It actually dropped all the way down to $561.79. And then at about, 9:55 this morning, 10 o'clock this morning, it was at $561.70. And then it went on an uptrend through the whole day. As you can see, it ran all the way up and it hit a high of $566.56. But again, still the highest for today was lower than the closing point that we had on Friday. Well, what did the rest of the market do? The rest of the market continued to trend just with the S&P 500. And then unfortunately, at about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, once it hit that high point, 3 o'clock, it started its run down. So you're going to say to me, Josh, what caused the S&P 500 to drop? It literally dropped from that $566.45 all the way down to $562.90. What happened? What in the world could have possibly caused the S&P 500 to spend the day, most of the morning growing and climbing up, only to turn around and give it all back? Well, a few things that actually happened in the market today that definitely caused some issues and some stir. First and foremost, there was news in the market today basically about President Trump saying that he was going to put a 100% tariff on movies from abroad. And he believed that this was going to be something that would help. And I don't know if it would help or hurt us, honestly, but I know what it did to two of our major players in the stock market, Netflix and Disney. They both dropped considerably on the screen for you guys. So the first thing we had here was Disney. And you can look at Disney and see that, although it doesn't look so bad here, you can see they pretty much had a good run this morning from $88 all the way up to $93.08. And then they just started giving it all right back to the market and closed at $92.06. And that's kind of where it sits right now, $92.11. Although it just popped up a little bit here, you see in the aftermarket. And then we had Netflix, and Netflix was kind of the one that I wish I had had that crystal ball the night before, because you can see that just like the S&P 500, let me get off auto, you see here that it was at 1154.50, and it dropped down when the market opened back up this morning at 4 a.m. It dropped down to $1,127. Okay, so you're talking almost $17 drop. Think about what you could have done if you would have bought in. And then it continued on it down, and it dropped all the way to $1,083.91. And I know I've mentioned before, one of the YouTube guys I listen to, Chris Sain, S-A-I-N, shout out to him. Great channel, great teacher, great motivator, really good guy. I really appreciate his content. He talks about Netflix all the time, had been calling Netflix out for a long time, from $700-something all the way up to $1,150. And you see now that once the market opened back up, where it really opened 9:30, it was at $1,101.90, spent the day climbing, and then boom, there was this talk about basically the movies, and the 100% tariff on movies dropped it down to $1,130. So that's where it sits right now, $1,130.33, closed at $1,134, but it's Netflix, guys. What else happened in the news today that really kind of caused the S&P 500 to drop? So this significant drop this afternoon had a combination of factors. It wasn't just about President Trump talking about the tariffs on movies from abroad. It had a lot to do with the Trump tariffs policies and criticism of the Federal Reserve. There's a lot of concerns that led to the decline, both in the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average also dropping significantly. And basically investors, their sentiment is further affected by this mixed economic data. So President Trump's statements about tariffs, continue to target China and other countries, and it just continues to create uncertainty and risk, among investors. And the potential for further escalation of trade tensions, is really weighed on market sentiment. People don't like the banter back and forth about the tariffs. And so ultimately it causes fear in the market. We've talked about fear in the market. Don't sit on the sidelines. You don't have to be afraid of anything, but it does cause a lot of people to stop, drop, and roll. There's also criticism of the Federal Reserve, right? The criticisms, particularly its stance on the interest rate. And so that's playing a role in the stock market's decline. Concerns about whether the Fed's going to lower interest rates soon enough. That's just adding a lot of uncertainty to the market. And we're going to see what happens, with the Fed. At the end of the day, there's a lot of news, a lot of things that consistently and constantly affect our market. And guys, like I've continued to share with you, I personally don't care what the news is in the market. I don't personally care what's happening in the market. You can still make money in this market. You can still make money in a market where tariffs and trade wars and all these things cause drama and cause issues. Okay, let's look at Tesla for a minute here. Tesla is a stock that had a very challenging night. Okay, that was Friday. Post-market, pre-market, it continued to drop. The market opened. It had every meaning to drop, and it did, all the way down to $274.40 from the high of, $284. So a $10 drop. And then it kind of stayed there for a little while, right? We're in the 5 minute. Let's go to 15. It kind of stayed there for a little while in this area. And then guess what? The market said, I've had enough of that. And so it went from $275 and ran all the way up to $283. Well, the market closed at $280 and it's right now at $279.20. Okay, it's going to continue to, I believe, go up in the post-market. Pre-market, we'll see what it does. But basically what everybody shared and everybody said, pump and dump, we've had the dump. Okay, all week long we had a pump. This actually would have been like 8 straight days or 10 straight days of the S&P 500 running green. Okay, and however you look at it, we didn't really end on a bad note. We kind of went down, came back up. Not where we'd like to be. We wanted to continue to see it grow. But a lot of the analysts continue to say the S&P 500 is going to continue to go green, continue to grow green, and continue to move in the upward trend. And that's what we're watching. And we're seeing all the volatility in it, and it run up and down. So Tesla is one of those. NVIDIA, okay? NVIDIA had a day just like Tesla did. It had a hard drop in the opening of the market, 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. It ran horizontal through most of the pre-market, and then it had a large boom when the market opened, $112.91, and it ran all the way up to $114.66 and closed at $113. NVIDIA is not going anywhere, guys. Great company. I've told you that all the time. Purchase shares in NVIDIA for long-term hold, for your retirement, for your future. It's not really a day trade stock, but it's one I'm in, not financial advice, just sharing with you what I'm doing. And this is a good stock to be in. And as it continues to go up, and then it ran back down with all this crazy news, it's on its way back up in the post-market. Okay? BBAI is another one that had a really good performance today. I've told you this is a great day trade stock. This stock, if you had read your candles, watched it drop, got to the point where you hit this candlestick this morning, it opened up at $3.09, and it ran all the way up to the top peak here, $3.29, 20 cents per share, guys. How much stock could you have bought at $3.09 per share and ended up with a 20 cent per share take profit? Pretty good. APLD did the same thing. Again, everything dropped from Friday, close of market, to the opening, had that huge drop open, and then it ran. And APLD today ran from $4.96 all the way to $5.30. Okay, it did retest a little bit, came back down, and now we're going to sit horizontal for a while. And tomorrow, I believe through Friday, it's going to continue to go up. Now, it is a lot of earnings. It's earnings seasons. There's a lot of companies that are in earnings. I've told you guys this in several videos. 89 companies that are notable in earnings. There's way more than that that are going to be announcing earnings this week. 18 of them fall within my strategy, anywhere from $1 to $10. Primarily, I look at the $5 to $10. If you want to watch my intro video to this channel and learn about my strategy and how I day trade and make at least $100 per stock that I trade per day, go in and take a look at that video. It's worth the watch. I know it's a little bit long, 33 minutes, but take a look and see, and you'll learn all about my strategy, and hopefully that'll be something that works for you. Intel didn't do so hot today whatsoever, guys. It kind of had a little bit of some uncertainty. It did open up and it did run up somewhat a little bit today. This is one that I'm in for long-term hold, but it spent most of the day coming down. You could have made money right here in Intel. You could have got in at $20.28 and rode that up here to the double tweezer top at $20.34. Okay, not huge. 12 cents per share. But this is depending on how much you have in your account, kind of a big nut. So Intel was not something I was very happy with their performance today. JetBlue announced today we're acquired by a company called Sky, and it's Sky Leasing, and I have to do some more research about them. I am a shareholder of JetBlue. I love JetBlue. I love to fly JetBlue, and I love to be a shareholder stockholder for JetBlue. I've held stock for a long time, and I'm in it for the long haul on JetBlue, and I think that they're going to continue to grow. We'll see what happens with this acquisition that just took over. Fubo is another one that had a very strong performance today as a day trader. Market opened. It actually performed better than some of the other stocks, which is surprising. It opened up at $2.33. If you rode it all the way to closing, then it closed out at $2.52. That's pretty good, guys. Pretty good opportunity to make, basically 20 cents a share. And again, at $2.32, how much could you have bought, right? If you bought 1,000 shares, make a few $100, you get out. You don't want to be an owner, and you move on. Anyway, guys, a lot of really good stocks, a lot of really good performance today. A lot of things that affected the market that maybe should have caused a lot of these stocks to go the wrong direction, and some of them did. And then we also had some significant earnings. Always do your research first. Always take a look and see what the stocks are doing before you get in and trade real money. I know I have several individuals share with me that they're paper trading right now and learning this process. I think that's the best thing you can do, and I'm proud of you for doing that. Learn your trade and your craft and master it before you jump in with real money. Guys, don't trade your mortgage payment, your rent payment, your car payment, the money you need to put food on your table, any money that you need, for your lifestyle or, etc. Put money aside that you understand what your risk factors are, that you're not worried about losing. Set stop losses. I always generally set a 5 to 7% stop loss. Some stocks I trade in, I don't set a stop loss because they move too quick, and I know my risk, and I know how much I put in, and I know how much I'm willing to let go or lose, based on those trades. But understand your risk before you get in. Guys, I hope you had a green day. I hope you made money today. Let me know in the comments if you did, and continue to share some other stocks that you guys may be seeing as good day trades. And also, if you hadn't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit that notification bell so that you can be notified every time I upload a new video. Guys, I hope you have a good night. We will talk again tomorrow. Josh out. Peace.